I am super lucky over time, have really great people around me.
Yeah.
The team that has been a part of it or is a part of it now have contributed so much to the project, along with the community of residents and businesses and just people coming to the space.
Yeah.
So all of it, I'm always like, it's only possible because of all the great people around me. Because if not, it's just an idea. But we have so many amazing and talented and passionate people here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it makes a difference. The Vegas Forward podcast delves into the lives of the people in our community, uncovering not only what they do, but who they are. Business may keep our city strong, but it's the individuals that continue to create, innovate, and push Vegas forward. All right, welcome to the Vegas Forward podcast. Today we have Jen Toller from Fergusons Downtown. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell me a little bit about Fergusons Downtown. Give us a little, background about the organization.
Yeah, so Fergusons Downtown was a conceptualized concept for quite some time. We were very fortunate to open 3 months before COVID hit, so that was real fun. But we were doing a lot of stuff leading up to it, across the street, building momentum, connecting with the community. But Fergusons is rooted in community. Our goal is to be a service of the community, highlight and celebrate local talent, really trying to continuously learn and grow and try to figure out ways to take the different steps and building blocks so people that have an idea or a concept we're here locally have the opportunity, a stronger opportunity to be successful and sustain and outgrow Fergusons essentially.
Sure. So it's all local businesses that are part of it. Oh, how cool. That's awesome. So let's go all the way back in time.
Yep.
So, where you grew up, your brothers, sisters, tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
All the things.
Yeah. Let's get deep.
Real deep. So I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. I left for a hot second, lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
I have two sisters. I am the middle child.
Oh, there you go.
Which I love. They're super amazing. They really bring a lot to for me to the table. Like my older sisters, they're both super smart, but she's this mecca smart individual. She's always into really cool things, always pushing the boundaries. I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to get married because why do I need to have their last name? Blah, blah, blah. She ended up getting married. She does have his last name, but it was it's for tax purposes and and she actually loves being married, and I love my brother-in-law, but they're very same cut from the cloth, concept, whatever that wording is. And then my younger sister is just such inspirational from being a mom and just such a good person, super organized. And so just growing up with those two things or those two aspects of these amazing humans, I feel like I'm this nice blend of it. And then all your typical middle child syndrome of wait, I want to make sure everyone likes me and they're happy. So
exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then my parents, they're amazing. Very fortunate. They're still together. My mom is Catholic Hispanic, the youngest of 11. So had a lot of family growing up and spent a lot of time in El Campo, Texas with all my cousins and my aunts and uncles. And my dad is the middle of two, and Jewish, Caucasian, chose Catholic, Jewish.
That's me.
There you go.
My dad is Greek Orthodox and my mom's Jewish. So it was what are we?
What are we doing? But it was cool because they definitely introduced both sides of it. You know, did some beautiful traditions with both my grandparents and but able to celebrate things and understand. Yeah. So that was really fun.
So did your family gravitate towards were you religious? Did you gravitate towards one side or the other? Because for us, we always kind of gravitated towards the Greek side because the personalities were so strong and I was baptized, but my mom still would do the menorah and Hanukkah and all that kind of stuff. Did that the same kind of dynamic?
Well, I'm sure my mom will listen to this, so I'll say yes. I'm super, super Catholic. No, we grew up predominantly Catholic, and then respecting and learning the Jewish side of some of the holidays. But definitely more on the Catholic side.
It's kind of funny how that works because you don't know what to do. You're pulled in both directions.
For sure.
Right? Yeah.
And then you just learn different things. I don't know how I feel about that. So I'm more non-denominational.
Yeah.
Me
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our parents were just we're not going.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect and value of religions in general. And, I just really believe in a lot of be a good human, more spiritual, more inward looking and outward, facing.
Yeah.
So.
I feel the same way. I feel you have to have some sort of moral compass, right? And religion's great because it gives people that, right? But at the same time, it's just nothing against it. Just it wasn't the path we went on.
For sure. So
where did you go to school or college or anywhere?
I did. I went to Texas Tech.
Cool.
I went fashion design,
Nice.
which it's technically not that at all. It's engineering school.
Yeah.
But there's a really cool store there that I worked at all through college that really definitely opened up my eyes, just being from Texas and Lubbock, Texas, which is a very conservative town.
Yeah.
Really pushed the boundaries, had really cool brands, really made it welcoming to the community as a whole. And so really learned a lot through that process and did some design work and everything, which led me to eventually getting into buying retail, which has nothing really to do kind of with what I do now.
What you do now, right? So,
but I'll have stepping stones to like build me to be the human I am.
And that's why I love when I interview people, like to talk about their past, because it's the same pattern, right? You look back and you're like, I did this and it led to this and then it led to that. And it's kind of random, right? You end up falling into, so I went to UNLV for hotel restaurant and I'm working here, right? So, most times you don't necessarily do that, but you meet someone on your journey that kind of redirects you in a different path, right?
Exactly.
And, which is kind of cool. So did you live on campus or?
The first year, yes. And then after that, a few of us got a house that we all lived at like 10 minutes from
Nice.
the college area. I mean, Lubbock, Texas is so small, like everything's 5 minutes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So did you stay how long did you stay in Texas? Did you stay afterwards? Or?
I did a little bit of a victory lap. You know, I had a year that I was like, kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. And like, I took a break from fashion and it's very like, you have to take this before that kind of thing. So I had to get back into that realm. But I stayed about a year or so after, with the store and then, just felt like I wanted to like keep growing. Moved back to Houston actually and was working with one of the brands out of there for a little bit. And then I found was at home and saw a commercial for Zappos.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
I was like, oh, this is cool. I definitely want to get back into like that realm and applied online. Didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was moving out to Vegas and being a buyer at Zappos.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
In 2009.
And I've always heard like stories about their hiring process. Like tell me a little bit about that because it was very unique.
Yeah. So when you apply, at least then, now there's a whole other element to it. And this is 12 years ago, I think now, or going on 13. So there's this questionnaire and it was like super fun. Like, what superhero do you want to be? And did you have a nickname? And, and I'm like, kind of like filling it out. I'm like, I don't know. Like, do I really fill this out? Or is this like trickery? Like, I don't know. I'm like talking to my older sister who's like definitely more like by the book kind of, that way. And I was like, I don't know. And I submitted something and I was like, I don't feel good about that. And I like literally emailed and like, actually, I want to change something. And it was my nickname. I was like, my nickname was Huggles. That was my MySpace name. If anyone remembers MySpace, because I would give every single person in the room a hug before I'd leave. And sometimes it would take forever. Nice. And I truly believe that is what it was like, oh, who's this person that followed up to change this one answer? Yeah. So, and then I did like a Zoom, Skype, I think Skype was probably what it was at the time, interview. And then I came out and, from being picked up in the van to going to check in to then meeting. And I met, I feel like it was like 100 people that day that I got interviewed by. But every step along the way is part of the interview process.
What year was that?
13 years ago. So
oh, wow.
I want to say 2009.
And when did he start the company? How old was Zappos before you started? You remember?
I think they just had their 20th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. So a long time. So it started in San Francisco and then came out here.
Yeah. And so you moved out by yourself once you get the job?
All by myself. Nice. Yeah. Came out here. Did that for a couple years. Really, enjoyed it. I think it was and that was a huge pivotal moment for me and just my career path moving forward.
Yeah.
I learned a lot in my college job because it was a small mom and pop boutique and then they had another one. And it's funny enough, they had just started buying some properties around the campus that a few of us were like, oh, this could be a cool sushi spot or a burrito shop. And I remember went to like a trade show all around like vintage candy and ice cream. So it was a really fun thing to do. Yeah. It's because they were trying to figure that out. So it's funny then to then now, like having just this random thing that I didn't really think anything of. It was cool to be a part of. It was exciting. And then just kind of went on my way to like full circle, kind of be a part of this Fergusons and DTP and like the development of downtown.
It's kind of weird how that happened, right?
Yeah. And I never like, oh, I'm going to do this later in life. It just kind of, like I said, happened. But I mean, I think working at Zappos, you definitely get to see the quality of just relationships, like enjoying who you work with, treating vendors or customers like real people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not
and you
like a support ticket where they shipped off to another country to talk to.
Yeah. And just like, how are you? How are your kids? Or how was this? Are you doing all right? And like building those relationships. And just, Tony really focused on culture and happiness. And so you really got to see and broke down the barriers of like the CEO to whatever you would consider like the bottom line of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that was just really beautiful to watch and gave, people the freedom and ability to make connections where probably in other business models, like you would never get to talk to the CEO.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Or feel comfortable to approach them.
Sure.
So that was just really, really cool to have and build that confidence within, I think, at least myself and maybe that demographic of younger employees. Yeah. First time real jobs.
Yeah.
So you just kind of learn a lot and be able to like have those resources to talk to people.
So were you one of a few buyers for them or?
Oh, I mean, by the time I got there, it was pretty well developed. I was on the fashion footwear team for a little bit. And then I moved over to their sister site, 6 p.m., which had been growing. So I did help a little bit grow that fashion footwear
6 p.m. I saw that on your LinkedIn.
I kind of was playing around. I was like, I haven't touched this in forever. I'm like, I literally just made it say Fergusons.
Oh, there you go.
But I'm so bad at that stuff. But it's their sister site. It's like their discount site. So essentially like any overstock, they would move over. And then in the whole like discount world, then you actually just can make product discounted.
Gotcha.
So, so then I helped kind of build that for a minute, and then I moved to Australia, random through LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
A woman reached out to me, and it was like New Year's Eve. I don't really do anything, and I was like, how do I feel about this year? How do I feel about next year?
Yeah.
And then I was like cleaning up my personal email and saw this thing on LinkedIn. I was like, what is that? And it's like this woman, Sarah Gell. Hey, saw your profile. Would you like to move to Australia and help us build this fashion footwear department?
No way.
I'm like, what?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you left Zappos and went to the other company?
Yeah, I left Zappos, moved across the world to Australia, and helped build their fashion footwear department there for a short period of time because I definitely missed what was going on here. When I was on my way out is when the idea of DTP was starting, and then Tony looking into buying and investing into businesses and concepts within downtown. It was really exciting.
Yeah.
Me and 2 friends were actually one of the first pitches of a small business downtown. It didn't make sense. We all worked at Zappos. We actually liked the arts district at the time, and it wasn't part of like the footprint and just a few things. It just like didn't make sense. So we're like, all right. And as that was oddly closing, I got the email about Australia. I was like, oh, this worked out for a reason.
How'd you like living out there?
I loved it. Yeah. It was beautiful. You can't really beat their, like, it's like, I feel like
a nicer America.
It's just like the coast. Like I lived in Bondi, of course that makes sense. It's like, it's Bondi Beach. I was in Sydney.
Oh, it's Sydney. Okay.
Yeah. So Bondi Beach and lived right on the water. So you just like, I could hear wave crashing in my bedroom. I watched a whale just like frail around in the ocean. So super lucky. Like,
how long were you out there?
A little under a year.
Okay. So, and why did you leave? Just to come back home?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to really go from Zappos to anything culturally. And just like that empowerment that you are given in the company or that I had when I was there. And so kind of taking that, going across the world. I mean, I feel bad. I probably called my mom a few times, a little distraught. And I mean, my day ended. They're sleeping. They wake up. I'm asleep. So it was just like, it was a little isolating. But I grew so much as a person, personally, professionally, but it was hard to leave. I remember telling my dad, I'm like, but I just like, my goal is to be here for 3 years.
It's a great experience,
like double citizenship and and then leave. No, it was amazing. I can you can always go back. You just have to figure out how to get there and whatever. So
100%.
I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. And so when you came back, you went back to Zappos or?
No, my friend who I worked with had started this company called Stitch Factory within the DTP portfolio. It was a small business. Invested. So I came back to help her get it open, operate it, be kind of her business partner in that. So cool. I did that for a couple years. Played around with a lot of different concepts. The idea was like an incubator for fashion designers. It was just really early in like the development of downtown and what the community actually had and needed.
How long ago was this?
Oh my goodness.
It's hard to remember time,
8 years,
right? Yeah.
Probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And did that for a couple of years, and it just shifted, like, because you go to fashion design school and you have access to all these machines and industrial machines and dress forms and tables and tools. And then you leave and you're like in your home machine at home, like
knitting.
You're like, oh my gosh. So it was cool. I mean, we had a lot of people use this space. We quickly got into like design concepts. So we would like help design, clothing or work with their patterns, did some manufacturing, which was such an awesome experience. but so much room for human error. And now I know why the experts, that have the manpower and out of California or, wherever it is, because it's just hard to get that pricing where people want it based on how much it costs just to pay people.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but then we started getting into more brand development with small businesses that were like had like t-shirts as like swag.
Yeah.
Where like you can actually make that a lifestyle. Like you have a customer that's like showing up that maybe like loves your brand and would actually wear this t-shirt or tank top or sweater or whatever it is. So then we started working with a lot of different people to do that. And we did the Life is Beautiful merch. So
cool.
Yeah, we did a test run to show a capsule collection of like, we can do fashion wear and people will actually wear it.
Yeah.
And not just have it like, throw it in the closet and then donate it or
one
maybe
of those
wear
convention giveaways or something. Yeah.
I mean, you pay a pretty penny to get a concert t-shirt, people wear them, but a lot of times they're just like sit in the closet and like 10 years on the road, like, oh yeah, this is a great souvenir. I remember that time.
Yeah.
So we did a capsule collection, actually did a lot of custom design and cut and sew out of California that we had partnered with, sold out pre-sale, and then even during the festival. And then people were wearing it at the festival, which is really cool.
How cool is that? Yeah.
And that just kind of kick-started. Then the next year we did another like kind of pop-up shop, come shop the brand before the festival. And again, people bought it, people were wearing it at the festival, where like other festival, people were like, how are you building this brand? And people are actually wearing it to the festival.
And how did you get that to happen? You think?
Well, we just blended trends and played with print and styles, and then just like built the momentum around that. Just
is that
made
the
it more
shirt with
lifestyle.
the neon logo on it?
Yeah. Obviously we don't do it anymore. Yeah. I'm not doing that anymore, but there's some early,
I remember seeing that. Yeah,
brands that we did. And then it just carried on from there, and then they did a cool collaboration, the last Life is Beautiful with Topshop and stuff. So it's just cool to see that kind of evolve. And just in general, you're seeing that a lot with like artists, like musicians and artists and doing really cool, like lifestyle brand stuff.
That's awesome.
Which is cool to see.
So what did you do after Stitch Factory then?
We parted ways and I was just trying to figure out, for me, like, it's always been part of my goal to like take the leap of faith on myself and like start something and what that looks like. Obviously Tony, was a dear friend of mine and we were just catching up and he's like, well, I have this project that I really want to get going. I knew what it was, Fergusons.
Yeah.
He was moving the Airstream Park to the back of it and wanted to see if I'd be interested in developing the rest of the city block. I was like, oh my God. Okay. It's like, that's
How
cool.
Is that?
I'm like, and I feel like, so lucky and like, some would say handed this opportunity, but that's a lot of years of him knowing me and my work ethic and what I, was able to produce at Zappos for, just fun culture events. And
it's pretty cool that he remained in contact with you, even though you left, it says a lot about him.
Yeah. He actually went out a couple months before I got there and left me a care package at his hotel. And I'm super grateful that they held it for like 2 months till I got there. Yeah. It was a fun package of random stuff. and anytime I'd come back, we'd meet up and hang out. And it was cool because when I left, I was like, oh, I'm kind of bummed. I reached out to him immediately, like, hey, I have this opportunity. We had coffee. He's like, that's so cool. I'm going to be out there. Do you want me to? And I have this person that I can connect you to.
In Australia?
Yeah. So this guy, Mark, and he actually took me up and down the coast and showed me some beaches and introduced me to his family. So it was really cool.
So when you were working at Zappos, like, were you working with Tony on the daily or was it no?
Yeah. I mean, he was like I said, like, you had directors at the beginning of every row. So you just always saw like directors as you're going in and out of work. Then there's like monkey row, which was, an open desk cubicle thing.
Yep.
My portfolio had a lot of like bigger brands in them. So they happened to always be a lot of our, like dinners and things like that.
Sure.
And he's just, as long as you would say hey and talk to him, he's like, hey, you know?
Yeah.
So
I've bumped into him before, but I never really had never had a full conversation, but I've seen him at the hockey games before. Oh yeah.
Loved his hockey games. Yeah. So no, he's, can be intimidating, but it's super approachable and such a good human. So,
that's awesome.
And we just connected, as he does with a lot of people, which is really beautiful to know and see even now. So
were you there when because he kind of like removed that whole management or director type of role. And from what I heard, and everybody was kind of, there were no managers anymore. Did you hear about that? Or
just
was it
probably the holacracy thing?
Yeah.
I had already left, but we kind of played around with it a little bit, like within like Stitch Factory and other things. There's a lot of pros to it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of work to like get the mindset shifted.
It's a total mindset shift. Yeah.
I mean, you see it like people want autonomy. You give them autonomy.
Yeah.
And then there's nowhere to blame when things aren't going well.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fine. Like there's just, you don't want to, it's hard it's hard in general, like even just to have the autonomy to like, did I make the right decision? Did I not make the right decision?
Yeah.
You know, and then, so it's also like hand in hand trying to figure out the right holding, but people don't want that. And that's not what it's really for. And it's for scalability. So more things can get done. So you're not waiting for like 3 people removed to give you the
bigger
yes.
you get, like the harder it is to get things done too.
So there's a lot of pros to it. It takes a lot of time.
Are they still utilizing that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm
It's an interesting concept though.
Yeah.
Because like for me as the CEO, I hate using that term of the company, right? Like I always like to, not micromanage everyone and just let them kind of create their own destiny and have their own focused role. But there's still times where they wouldn't need to escalate or ask a question or have, to someone, so it's kind of, it's kind of unique. It's very cool to hear about.
Yeah. I think it's just setting clear kind of like parameters almost like, hey, like if it falls in these things,
that's your thing.
Have fun. Yeah. If it falls outside of that, then that might be something we need to talk about to help guide it into the right direction. But if it falls into our mission, you're not spending X and it gives back this, then really, I mean, you hope that you're always bringing on people on your team and company that you trust and
have that mindset.
And have that mindset.
Yeah,
so
very cool.
Yeah.
So to go back to what you were talking about with Tony. So you met with him and he was telling you about.
He just kind of mentioned it, and obviously I was really appreciative. I was like, that is not at all why I reach out to you, But I was over the holiday for Thanksgiving, so I spent that time. I was like, okay, let me think about what that actually looks like and just make sure that you see what I think, and then we're aligned, and I would love to explore it. If not, totally fine. Yeah. I'll figure it out. And so I just kind of put together like a very basic PowerPoint
there you go.
thing with like screenshots and like other, oh my gosh, I'm keep hitting this and other different things. And we totally aligned. A lot of it was around greenery and what positive impacts that have to a neighborhood, to your mental space, to how you hang out, how you shop, how you experience things. And he's like, I totally agree with all of those. Focusing on local and small businesses for me, like since forever. And I don't know if it's like my mom with her large family, like always wanting to support small businesses and the little guys. And that's what I did in college. And so like my background really is working in small businesses or starting and building small businesses. So, and just anytime I've traveled, and especially when I lived in Australia, every little town had amazing markets. Even if you go to New York and all those other things, and Vegas has great markets as well. Outside of First Friday at the time that I'm aware of, and I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. There wasn't really like a daytime kind of market that was focusing on like just local made stuff. It was a lot of like farmer markets with juices and a few crafty things, but not really like super focused on like small business, like, made. So it was really cool so that was a big part of my presentation and what I thought that could live there. Obviously really trying to bring a lot more focus on art and interactive art, or how do you have art that's not, oh my God, here's this thing, kind of live within the space. And then, so just kind of slowly grew from there. And then there's thoughts and ideas about a hotel and a skate park and, this other stuff.
And so how long did it take from idea to actually
feels like it was a million years.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and it was a extremely exciting, very challenging, probably some of the darkest times, but then also really rewarding on the other side of it. Again, it was new for me. Like I've construction and all that stuff. So I'm very grateful for everyone being patient.
Dealing with contractors is fun, right?
It's an interesting area of business. But I mean, I can talk about ADA, access and what needs to be there. I can talk about fire sprinklers. I can talk about fire code. All these things that I never would thought I would know.
100%.
So I definitely learned a lot. It was hard when you don't know something and you're trying to absorb it and trying to make sure that you're understanding things. I'm definitely somebody that likes to I need to understand it all. So then when I'm having a conversation, I know what I'm talking about somewhat.
Which is important.
Yeah. And so it was just a lot of retaining data and trying to process. And then just really trusting your gut and knowing to trust your gut. And when you're like, I don't know if I trust my gut because I don't know what this means.
Yeah, but it's always right though. I always say that.
Is.
It's
it really is.
You're like, something doesn't feel right. And you're like, it's never right.
No, it isn't. And when you say, you know what, I'll let this gut go and not pick on this one because I've been, in my opinion, so aggressive on everything.
Yeah, sure.
And then you're like, well, that's why, because my gut was right. And now we have to go back and redo all this. No, it's, but it was a really cool experience. I mean, I am very proud of like what Ferguson's turned out to be. There's a lot that I learned. And if I were to go back or do another project, I've learned so much of the things that I wouldn't do.
It's so much easier.
Or could do different. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And just having like the bone structure of like information and data, and then having enough to go into a conversation like, I don't know, that's all you, but I do know that I want to see this, or it can be done or pushed this way. Because I got a lot of no's, and that was really frustrating, you know, especially being business partners. And in the last however many years at that point with a yes man, and more like yes and, or if it's no, then how can we brainstorm on like to make it solution oriented? And if it's still no, it's no, but at least we like talked through it. And they'd be like, oh, can we do this? Nope. I'm like, okay, but like, can we talk about why? And then it's like, okay, cool. That why, I actually think maybe could this work, and it's just a different mindset. When you're just in it, you're like, it's these plants and this brick and, and it's like, okay, but can we do So
you designed the whole thing? Like it was like.
So I work with architects. So definitely major credit to the people that were able to take my vision and work with me, because I am having the fashion design background and design. Like I was extremely hands-on. So I don't want to discredit that I designed it, but I also definitely don't want to discredit all the hard work and patience of the design and architects. So I had two different firms that I was working with. I actually worked with a company outside of California because of all the greenery that we're going to do. So I kind of walked the space and talked about all these like different layers and hidden gems and all this other stuff that I wanted to do. And so they presented kind of like the first iteration of what then evolved into how like the layout was. Just not being in town, and for other reasons, it just didn't really work out. And then we brought it back to Vegas architects and landscape design people to work through different series. But yeah, from like when you're walking around the U-shaped path, if you notice, you'll see exposed pebbles. And I think I got shown like 6 different pebble selections. And I was like, I sent a picture. I'm like, I like this. Like pebble. These colors to like be exposed when you like gran it down. And
it's all about the details though. And that's the experience, right? So that's pretty cool. How big is the space?
I think it's like 19,000 square feet total. If you just the front part. So I want to say is kind of how big that is.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about the different aspects of the property. So you have the Airstreams, right? Yeah.
So in the back is residential. Across the street is where that started. I don't even know how long. It's been in the back of Ferguson's for 4 years now. So I want to say it's been probably 6-7 years that it started. It was just like, hey, like they were bought, they sat for a while. And then Tony's like, oh, I would want to have a bunch of friends. Let's do like a winter camp and stay in them, but more so give feedback. Like, do you like it? What would you change? Do things work? Because I'd been sitting, and then he never left his Airstream after that, and neither did another girl, Chrissy. And then every year for winter camp, which was right after Thanksgiving, going into the new year, almost that same group would always come and live together for a month.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was super fun. Is that? Yeah, it was like kind of like a little staycation.
How many units were there, or how many?
Total was like 32. Oh wow. Yeah, 32, 35.
Were there other full-time?
Yeah, it went in and out of like some full-time people throughout the year, and different things. He always left some for crash pads. One to make sure that every winter he could have like we could have winter camp. And then really just had a lot of guests. I would say, I mean, if you remember early on of the DTP days, they had a lot of crash pads at the Ogden, which was really cool because different groups and us at Stitch Factory would curate a week around fashion. So we'd bring about 40 different people out for the month, once a month, that were out of town in the industry, do talking series. What do we call them? Oh my gosh. Anyways, they would talk to the community about their field and their passion. We'd have a dinner, workshops, happy hours and stuff. And then there's one for tech, entertainment, art. And so it was really cool for like 2 or 3 years. We're bringing hundreds of people out a year. So it was always kind of part of I think for him, like the marketing around like getting people down here, seeing what's going on. Maybe someone falls in love, they stay, they build their business, they add their business, whatever it may be. So that moved over about 4 years ago. And at that time is when I actually moved in full time. And I lived in the Airstream.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was me.
What was that like?
It was awesome. It was amazing. My boyfriend, at the time and now, we had lived together in like an apartment kind of thing, went through 2 fun summer breaks, but really connected us. More so we're just best friends and like, are you in the same journey or are we like in this together? Are we just friends and good roommates? But anyways, we ended up living in Airstream, me, him, and my 2 cats, or our 2 cats. And it was awesome because we knew how to like just move perfectly around each other in the space. And we did that for, I guess, 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then I got pregnant. And I was always looking forward to moving into one of the studio units, the back of Ferguson's. There's 4 units that I turned into 2 residential units that open up on the other side. And we have 6 other studio units in the back. And so I was really excited about how I laid them out. And I was like, oh, but maybe. And he's like, oh, but I really like the Airstream, which is amazing because he was so not about moving and living in the Airstreams when I first seeded the idea 4 years ago. So the joke is like, I'll just seed something and 4 years later.
How big are they? They're like what?
They're like 200
square
feet.
Yeah,
That,
you better like your boyfriend if you're.
I do. He's awesome.
If you're gonna be living that close.
You do, but you do. I do, and I do love him very much. Now we have a child together, and then we lived in the micro unit for I think maybe at a year, which is really sad to leave, but it just happened to work out this last year to find a house and very close. And with our little one to run around a little bit more.
Are you still downtown vicinity?
I am. I'm in the Hundredge.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's only 5 minutes.
So, so what else is on the property? So there's retail shops, correct?
Yep. So the front was really cool. So leading up to Ferguson's opening at the end of 2019, we were hosting a thing called Market in the Alley, which housed anywhere. We started with like 18 vendors, 200 people, mostly probably our network of friends, to growing it to over 70 vendors a month and over sometimes 3,000 to 4,000 people attending, which was so amazing to be able to drive that amount of traffic down there. And just start building like our ethos and what we're about and what we're trying to do is like food, music, art, small businesses. So as I was opening Ferguson's, it was really easy to start transitioning some of those makers that had been with us for a long time or fairly new into their first brick and mortar. So first and most important was securing the food. So we have 2 restaurants and then Mothership, the coffee roaster at the bottom. So really wanted to get those dialed in, got those dialed in. And then it was just like, all right. And then started curating the rest of the U-shape.
And how big is each unit, the commercial space?
So the restaurants range from 1,600 to like indoor, outdoor, I think it's like 6 or so. And then Mothership's a pretty decent size. I don't remember that one. That one's cool because we had the Ferguson's was like flat and just like a U shape where you parked, and we actually dug it down 10 feet. So you like walk down this meandering path.
Oh, cool.
And then we built the Mothership building and then have a rooftop deck. So then you have like,
that, So
and
awesome.
it's cool because like the rooftop was only like 3 feet above the original grade, but now it's like 13 feet. And it's just like,
cool.
the
Nobody's
the
sitting out there
difference.
now though. 118.
Not right now.
Drinking coffee and
no.
melting.
But we do have some misters, it helps early in the morning and at night. So, but no, the retail, they range from one hotel, because it used to be a hotel unit, which was 230 square feet, to I think 2 was the biggest. And so 560 or 460. Math.
Yeah. So then after you had the restaurants, then you started having other retailers in. And did people contact you, or were you particular about which retailers you wanted in there? Like what types of businesses?
It was important to have the right, mix. You don't want to have like the same thing, obviously. It kind of just started naturally unfolding. Kind of how it needed to, between me asking or seeing someone or someone asking or reaching out. We definitely had a form where people would fill out, and that's where we actually got like All for Our Country, which is one of the tenants. And then there's others like Neon Cactus that was like always at all of our markets and happened to always put them where the door was. So we're always going in and out and had this fun little relationship. So it was like, hey, I think you'd be great to, this is a really awesome inquiry, and kind of did it like that. And it, like I said, it just kind of really came together beautifully, naturally. So
did Tony, because I know the downtown project, he invested in multitude of different businesses. Was he investing in any of those, or just the actual property itself?
So we were co-owners of the 2 restaurants that had opened. They sadly closed during COVID. But other than that, he was my business partner in it and personally invested in the entire project. But not specifically into any of those small businesses.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Which is really cool. Like these guys had really built their brand through markets or online. Which you really saw come strong during the last year of shutdowns. A lot of them were either home products or, health care products or plants. And so they did really well. And I think it was really beautiful to watch our Las Vegas community really shift their dollars into our local community. And so it was cool to see them hold their own. It was hard for all of us.
Yeah, I was going to talk about, that's obviously a common theme too, right? Because the pandemic like really affected everybody differently.
Yeah.
Especially hospitality, food and beverage, things like that. I noticed you did a lot of creative stuff too, to kind of, like virtual bands and events. And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So right when it was crazy. Oh my gosh. It's like so wild to think back about it. We had a friend come back from overseas and was talking about it. And we was like, oh yeah, we kind of saw this thing, whatever. And then we started watching it a little bit more carefully. And then my sister was actually going to go overseas to do some stuff. I'm like, Marissa, be careful. Like there's this thing. I don't really know what it is. And like,
it's so far away. You just never thought it was
gonna get here, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like flashbacks to the museum of like a pandemic and like there's lights going everywhere. Like the museum, like, oh my God,
exactly.
like that is gonna happen. So, and then, I was actually going on my baby moon right in the brink of like, maybe shouldn't have traveled, but wasn't really sure. It wasn't like a don't travel or like any of that stuff yet. But right then I was like, okay, I still feel weird about this. We gave everyone hand sanitizers. We started wiping down things, got some like different things in stock. And then, by the time I came back, it was like a week after I got back, it was like,
done.
We're gonna shut
March,
down.
13th or something like that.
For sure. And so even during that time, there wasn't a mask mandate for a little while and we went ahead and put one in place. It just aligned with our team, our community. Like we had people living there and then all the different businesses and also the team that was working. And so definitely wanted to make sure people felt safe and comfortable.
Sure.
And that was the best that we knew. And it did. It was awesome because we were able to tell this story of what was important to us.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped even when things opened back up with our space one. We got lucky being outdoors. My occupancy is actually quite high. Even though we were like, let's start with 75 people and see how we feel.
Yeah.
And I don't really think we ever really hit 75 people at one time because which was kind of cool because like it was really spaced out through the entire day of people coming out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if we hit that and if you guys are the ones up front, like how does it feel? Does it look busy or let's do then 100 and kind of gradually do that? Because my 20% is like, I don't know. It's a lot. 160, I think. No, I don't even know if that's right. Yeah, 160.
So what you guys did events though, correct? Like virtual events?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So before we could open back up, we quickly shifted. Like we had a market coming up, canceled that, took it virtual, which is really fun, really cool. A lot
hard to plan that.
Of work.
It's actually harder than like an actual event. I've heard.
For sure. It's like, and it's just wanting to control, I guess, the experience too, to make sure it was, represented what we were doing in person, which put a lot of strain on the team. And I commend them for like diving in and really shifting, and they did, and it was awesome. But we did a few and just like, okay, that was a lot of work for such a short period of time, and then to kind of turn it all off and then like do it again. So that's when we started shifting, because one of the businesses, she was, she had a lot of compromising things that wouldn't be good for her to have a store even afterwards. So she had moved out and we took over that space and created the market shop. So now there's actually a physical shop that you can come shop our local vendors that we typically have during markets all the time.
Oh,
and so when we do market, there's store markets, full collections and all that stuff, but you have like a glimpse of them and other makers within the shop.
Within one. Oh, cool.
And then with the musicians, that was kind of a little bit of a overall kind of struggle, but I'm finding the right way to help support them. But we wanted to do something. So we just started doing live streams with them and had like a Venmo that you could, tip them out. And then we just allocate some resources like, okay, well, one, I wanted to, keep my team as much as possible. I was very lucky to talk to Tony about like what it would look like if we had to like, what it looked like letting go people versus keeping them and shifting. And, luckily we had, certain revenues coming in that weren't necessarily affected. So it really did cover like the team cost. It was just more like reshifting how they worked. So it wasn't like, I can have greeters during the day because we weren't open. So, and with everything being shut down, there was concerns like, okay, what does that look like at night now if everything's closed? And if, so they became graveyard shift security. And I, again, like,
well, that's awesome. You kept everyone on. Cause, it was tough even for me. I was like, I paid everyone for a few pay periods and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like there was nobody knew when the end was going to happen. So
it was 2 weeks and then it was a year.
Exactly. That's why I was like, and then my accountant was like, you might want to like furlough everyone temporarily because you don't know when it's going to open. So unfortunately we had to, but I'm proud because we never let anyone go.
Yeah.
We actually added people
That's
after.
awesome.
So,
but
as a business owner, it's like, your team is like your family, you know, and having to let people go is tough, you know? And so it's pretty kudos to you to,
thanks.
To be able to do that.
Yeah. It's definitely,
especially with retail, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of obviously sleepless nights. I don't even know if I fully have dealt with the drama, to be honest, but I was super concerned about our tenants.
Yeah.
Super concerned about my residents that lived in the back.
They all stayed though the whole time, or?
Well, we lost a lot of people, but because we had some people that were part-time in Vegas and not, so obviously they lost their part-time gigs or whatever it was out here. So then they left, and some other things, or people decided to move back home.
Yeah.
And then, obviously my team, so being able to everyone to jump in and shift really quickly, and they're all jumping on. And then there's a group of us, the office team, that took pay cuts to help minimize the burn during the time. Yeah. Which was really awesome because everyone more than happy. Yeah. Took that and did that, awesome. So, obviously we're lucky that we were able to do that for a little bit and then be out of it. And then we created not only we did the virtual event, so we created new revenue, so revenue that we're losing. It wasn't anything to our physical events. That's where Ferguson's really is able to truly survive, is through our events. We've got our rent and everything like that. And that's consistent. That's great. That takes care of things. My goal with Ferguson's, along with celebrating, highlighting, and creating opportunity with small businesses, is also how do you create, jobs or events or partnerships with people that need that extra support, have this idea and want to get off the ground and going. So things like the market shop, no, it's not something that brings in crazy amounts of money, but one, I'm able to give, some people some jobs, and it supports the vendors. And then the vendors, I have my stuff in the store. And so all that impact that it has, as a feel good and community, and, it really goes a lot farther. And then over time, as we've even seen lately, and when, it's not 120 outside, we have more people, you'll start seeing the sales start growing with that as well. So,
such a unique concept. I mean, I've never heard of anything like it. Is there anywhere else in the US that is similar, or anyone you could model after that, when you're coming with the idea, or is this just,
I think it's just a handful of different things. I mean, I don't think anything specific is extremely unique. I think the goal for definitely was always true for Tony as a person, that definitely rubbed off, and something I started embodying more is how do you test something, build on it, and grow, rather than full on going into this thing and holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing. Or I could have learned some things before I did this, and then all of a sudden you're out of time, you're out of resources, you're out of energy, and you just stop, and it's sad because there's opportunity to take it. Or you just so much heartache and burn, and then to then get onto the other side. So what is cool is, we have market, you can start marketing the alley, and if that feels good, then we can feature some of your stuff in the shop, and then you kind of maybe turn this potential side hustle or hobby or real business and just okay, now I feel more comfortable that I have a consistent customer at this market, tried a few others, now it's selling in the store. Let me go over to Gather House, which is something we opened through the pandemic, which is the old writer's block, if anyone knows that. And it has 8 micro studios in there. So they're only 100 square feet.
What is it called?
Gather House.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. So it's part of our city block. There's a 12-year-old, Kume, who has a tofu teas, and she started with us, I think she was 9, or she started her brand when she was 9. And
really?
she started doing markets with us and through Future Makers, and now she has her own store, which is really cool.
How crazy is that?
So, and then we also sell her stuff in the market shop, and she's just amazing and such an inspiration. And she's all around human justice, that's not social trends, and racism is trash, and your pronouns. My bracelet is actually, she made this bracelet. It's my pronouns. But she's really cool. And so there's a subset of different creators there. Mm-hmm. And then from there you can go to maybe a bigger space, or again, any of that, you outgrow it, which is awesome. And then you go have a bigger store, or however you want to transition in your next step. So it is cool to be able to have some of these stepping stones, and, try to use our platform, as we continuously go through shift and change, have our strong moments and not so strong, and keep growing and keep learning, as any business and people, do. So it's been really cool. So, and then we opened Vegas Test Kitchen at the end of the year as well, which is in between Gather House and Ferguson's. And that's with Jolene. She has been in the chef or culinary community for a really long time, and she's absolutely amazing. We partnered with her, and she spearheads it, co-founded it. And it's 7 different chefs out of there. That same thing, a lot of the restaurant community struggled or shut down or couldn't get in their kitchens. So this was an opportunity for 7 chefs to come in, share resources, not break the bank and rent, and then do a concept. And
that's an awesome idea.
Did awesome. Yeah. And there's different pop-ups that we do.
So they were like catering or doing like,
no, it's like, it's all to cashless and contactless. So you can actually like order online and then they'll text you when it's ready. So you can just go pick it up or you can eat it there or take it over and go sit in the yard. So it's been really cool to see those guys do really well. One's, and I think just signed to actually then go into their own brick and mortar in a development that's being developed. It's Yukon Pizza. They're so good. They started, it's like a the sourdough yeast or whatever, started with his great grandfather, Todd, T-A-D. Hopefully I'm not saying the wrong. Sorry, Alex, if you're listening to this. I just got like the whole write up the other day because a long time ago, he's like, this has been in the family for like, I think like 100 years or something. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Just thinking like, whatever the recipe is. Yeah. During COVID, obviously everyone was making sourdough bread and becoming plant parents. Sure. And I learned like, oh no, like yeast, like you keep it alive and you keep making.
I always wonder how you can keep passing it down from generations.
Yeah.
Like,
they just take from it and
like
then
a piece of it.
And you just give it on. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so I was like, so one day I was like, oh, you meant like, it's literally, he's like, no, for sure. I was like, that's wild. That should be like, I'm telling everyone now. And here I am telling everyone.
That's cool.
So it's really cool. So the idea for that too is, embodied and aligned with like, okay, how do you get them started? They won't be there long, eventually grow out of it. And then we bring in a new set. So it's almost like a food court but you don't actually walk up to different things. You just order everything.
And then just show up and pick up.
You can order pizza, sushi, a bagel, and it all comes out as it's ready.
Check
and
that out. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you get involved in their business like at all? Like, or is it strictly like a landlord-tenant relationship? Or are you actually like giving them advice on what you think would work, what wouldn't work? How involved are you in the business?
I mean, if they ask for it or want to, like, yes, it's like landlord tenant technically, but I don't look at it like landlord tenant, right? Like even during COVID, like we, helped do some photography and house some of their products on our website because they didn't have online stores. So it was a way for us to bring traffic for them digitally. Cause also that was like, so like it was just so hard. Like you couldn't even think about what to do next. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, don't worry about it. Let us help feature this stuff and sell it for you. And then we just credited it to their rent.
Which I love that concept because usually the landlord tenant relationship is contentious, right? Like there's like, just all about collecting money, right? And the fact that you care about the tenants, it helps you out, it helps them out, right? And it really does create that community, which is awesome.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're like the experts in what they do. They're all so talented, and I learned so much from them. Yeah. And then if needed or wanted, I mean, we do check-ins, we see things. I think it's a beautiful relationship. Yeah. So, and at the end of the day, like autonomy is, like we said, it's what everyone wants and needs in this world. And then ask for the support or just if you don't know how to ask for the support, make sure that you're able to, be aware of what's going on around you to like, just keep checking in and eventually like, hey, like I'm actually needing help on this, Oh,
100%.
So.
Yeah. It's funny how all the things you learned in your past, like impact you now. Right. Which is cool. Yeah. So, what's your future plan for Ferguson's? Is there any expansion or are you going to open up any other locations? Like, do you have any plans for the future right now? Or
honestly, this is our first summer. Yeah. Because our first summer was during COVID. And so the yard just like turned into a jungle and it was super beautiful and enjoyed those moments of that time. And my newborn, but just trying to get through this heat. It's, it's hard to not feel like, gosh, I'm sucking at this right now,
it's tough right now. Yeah.
It's the heat and everyone's hurting and we're, mostly outdoors. Even though everything's indoors, you just have to like be mostly outdoors. So I'm just trying to, continuously find the energy to come up with new thoughts and ideas. I'm super grateful that we were doing so well earlier this year when a lot of people were still closed or not.
Yeah. When did you guys open back up?
Whenever you could open.
Yeah.
Like
was it May?
Well, we were able to open even last year, because if we were an outdoor shopping center, so we could be open, but at 20%. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, it's such a blur. So whenever you could be open as an outdoor retail, we were opened, and reshifted. And some people were open or some people weren't for a little bit. Kind of we're very flexible with that for for the time being. And then, so I'm grateful for the energy. Like we had a really cool write up with Jeff Carter that was like, hey, if you go down to Ferguson's, like the pandemic isn't even happening, but in a safe way. Yeah. Like, everyone's wearing masks, everyone's social distancing, but like the energy you feel there. Yeah. So I'm really grateful for that time because it really helped all the small businesses. Definitely now knowing where we are right now, it'd be really hard to like have been really slow, and then this heat. So yeah. So
yeah, it's tough. I mean, nobody wants to go outside right now.
I know.
It's like blazing.
But I'm super, like we still get such a great foot traffic. And what's been beautiful about Ferguson's, because we do track how many people come in and out, and then whatever visible like bags or things that go out the door. So more than 50% of them walk out with something. Oh, good. So it's like a very intentional consumers that are coming down to shop, to support. And do something.
Do you see tourists coming down there at all, or is it strictly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. We've had right before the shutdown, we had a really awesome write up in the LA Times, and I think how that works is then that goes out to I think all of their other publications that they have, which is like in Chicago and Florida, and like we had some people showing up with their like newspaper of the Big Rig and taking a photo with it. I'm like, this is so wild, yeah. That's so cool. And so it was really cool. So that really helped. We've been in a few in-flight magazines as well. Yeah. I mean, all like I said, pre-COVID, and then obviously just social, and then we do come up as like local things to do and stuff like that. So
yeah. And I don't want to talk too much about this with Tony passing and stuff because it's depressing. We were talking about it at the office, like, so he impacted so many people here, you know, like just downtown was not a good place to be. And I know you were close to them. Like, how did that impact the business and you? And like, it had to have been challenging to lose a good friend,
Yeah.
How did you manage the business through all that? Like,
still figuring it out every day. Yeah. It's you definitely feel the loss. Yeah. So, I mean, he was a really impactful human and cared like so much. And so I think everyone's just trying to show up and do their best and honor him the best way we can with the resources that we have. With Ferguson specifically, the beautiful thing is he's like, hey, I'm just like your advisor board. Like if we're going to do this, but
you're at your own,
but don't think that, or don't expect for me to like be doing it hand in hand with you, which is totally fine. Like I was super down for that. Like I was excited for it. And, but I do miss him as my sounding board and like, certain things I'm like, oh my God. Cause he's just like off the wall with ideas. Sometimes I'm like, I should not have asked you. I'm so overwhelmed now with what you just told me and what I should do or not do. And, but I mean, it was so, I definitely feel that. I think to be honest, I don't know if I've fully been able to process. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that anymore. Yeah. It's depressing, but he was definitely a visionary, and
for sure,
it impacted even for us that aren't downtown, like in the creative space, like he just impacted everybody. You know?
And I think that's what's beautiful is like the positive impact that he had with actually being with somebody and like having that physical or whatever, or just how that had impacted someone that had met somebody that met somebody and how that trickled down. He was not shy of giving time and himself to anyone. There'd be plenty of times someone on the plane that we was sitting next to was like now sitting at our fire at residential, like, oh, I met so-and-so on the plane. They're just a cool person. I think they're going to stay for like a week. Do we have a crash pad available? I'm like, okay, yeah, let me look. And then they become great friends of ours. And so it's just really cool. Like, someone that literally had no boundaries of judgment on anyone or anything really. And just really just open arms. The
impact he's made is never going away. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I remember when I first moved here, and then I don't know when he came in, but was it early 2000s? Was he?
I think early.
Yeah. And downtown was still kind of And then he invested all that money and invested in businesses and like help people like yourself. So it's going to stick. It's like a legend, downtown legend.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's been, I think, going on 9 years when he started DTP and like kind of buying assets and stuff. And, there's a lot of things that like, there's still some, negative energy around DTP and blah, blah, blah. And that's, you can't please everyone. Sure. But I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done better in the beginning or even better now. And that's just with anything and everything. Sure. And, I think that it's really cool because like downtown was so amazing already. So to be able to have this person that I think over time people really saw genuinely cared and was there for the long run and investing, wanted to see it thrive and do well. So
I think what was unique about him is it didn't feel like he was trying to make a profit. And I'm sure he was, right? Like anybody else. Yeah. But it felt like it was intentionally for the good of the community. And like everything was like kind of intentionally done. You know what I mean? Which is unique, I think, for most people to.
I think so. That. I think, I mean, this is my own total personal relationship thought.
Yeah.
He came across money really young and really early. And, the whole money doesn't bring you happiness.
Yeah.
And it was a life journey of figuring out happiness. And, one of the things that I know truly made him happy was like creating moments and believing in people and making them happy.
Yeah.
So a lot of this, like, I mean, he took like a $30,000 a year salary from Zappos as the CEO. Like, clearly he could have taken a lot more.
Yeah.
But for him, it was like, all right, I'll take this. And then, even when he got bought out from Amazon, he distributed out his stock and like gave bonuses to people. Like, he didn't have to do really any of that.
Yeah.
So for him, it wasn't like he didn't need more money.
Sure.
Obviously everything that he was doing, there's an investment.
Yeah.
He wants to, there's that land assets in general were always going to evolve and grow, so there's investments in other areas that, aren't naive, but I mean, he was able to, pick people like myself that, maybe today would be the first time that I'd get some type of opportunity to like build out a city block. Right.
Yeah.
And I was able to start doing that 4 years ago, let alone sit down 8 years ago and be like, hey, if you could do anything downtown, what would you do?
Yeah. That's an incredible opportunity though. I mean, not many people have built out blocks of a city.
No,
before.
So, I'm lucky that it was presented, but I worked my ass off. Like I did not sleep.
You're probably still working your ass off.
I have all this I am, but I am super lucky over time, have really great people around me.
Yeah.
The team that has been a part of it or is a part of it now have contributed so much to the project, along with the community of residents and businesses and just people coming to the space.
Yeah.
So all of it, I'm always like, it's only possible because of all the great people around me. Because if not, it's just an idea. But we have so many amazing and talented and passionate people here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So you moved here because of Zappos. What are some things you like to do in Vegas? Like, tell me about, personal stuff, like any hiking,
right?
You got a baby, so you're not very much hiking.
I know. It's like the last 4 years, like everything was Ferguson's now. And so, but no, I love being outdoors. I love hiking. Anytime I feel like super like, like this, I'm like, I got to go to the mountains real quick. So I do love hiking. I do like just being outdoors. Like I love going, like I went to Mount Zion quite a few times before I even hit Mount Charleston and Red Rock and all that stuff. But I love, like, I'll get a cabin at Red Rock or Mount Charleston or, we'll do like lunch at the lodge or do a quick hike. It's
pretty cool because a lot of tourists they think, oh, you live in Vegas. Like they envision you like at the Wynn every night,
right?
But there's so much around the city
really
to do. And it's expanding. And what's kind of exciting, I think, is all the real infrastructure. Like we have sports teams now. And we've got like MGM Sphere. It's not just casinos anymore. There's people like yourself building and creating, which is awesome. Plus it's a nice little hub because you get like 45 minutes to LA, Scottsdale, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's
it was really cool. One year we all went up to Mount Charleston. Yes. And went skiing. Yeah. And in that same day, some people from our group went down and then did the day club at the pool. So they skied all day long and then popped down and went. And so like, at some levels, like where else can you literally go and ski with snow and it be cold and then be down in like the valley where it's warm and by the pool, like,
which is insane, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So where do you see the city going in the next, I don't know, 5-10 years? I mean, any ideas of like new innovations or like new things that you've heard of or cool stuff?
I think you're right. Like having the sports teams is really huge. I think with the Raiders opening and then, we saw what T-Mobile did with concerts and all kinds of other stuff there. So I think that's really exciting. That creates like with the hockey team, like that sense of unity. Yeah. Like it was a perfect time for them to launch too, right after the shooting. So it was something that really brought us all together during a really sad, tragic time. Yeah. I personally really love going to the Aviators game because my son just like
loves it. Yeah.
We're on the berm. His dad loves baseball. So it's like a cute thing for them to do together. Yeah. I need to go to the hockey game or the soccer games too. Cause I think that could be like another one. I haven't either. And I'm like, it's like literally down the street for me. So it's on my list to do this.
I'm hoping UNLV makes a comeback with their football team because now they're playing in Raider Stadium, which hopefully brings better recruits and stuff like that. So so there's that, and then the Arts District has been just blowing up right now, which is so awesome because I've always loved that area. So it's been really cool to see like all the shops and all the bars and all the restaurants and the breweries and just so many good places down there.
Yeah, so I think that whole area is going to keep growing. The Huntridge with Jay Dapper is about to go underway, which I'm super stoked. And also personally, I live literally 5 blocks behind it. Yeah. And then it makes this really cool triad of like the Fremont, the Arts District.
It's a nice little, it's eclectic mix, right?
Just keep making the moves and like really and there's so many streets and areas that will always like keep evolving with that for more opportunity to develop stuff. And even just watching the Strip transition a lot. Like it's like, you know, when I moved here, it was a lot of clubs. Yeah. It still is, you know, obviously gambling and all that stuff. But I feel like a lot of the food has been over time continuously shifting and growing and evolving. And even just like the way that you can hang out. You know, I definitely love the local and like getting off the beaten paths like Gina with La Strega and like all the other areas. So many good spots.
A lot of chefs are leaving the Strip and like Sparrow and Wolf and like there's such great restaurants now. Yeah. I love the food here.
I know. I'm like, I'm like starving right now too. I'm like, oh my God, spaghetti. My niece was eating spaghetti earlier in a photo. I'm like, I want spaghetti. But so I don't know. I just like, I think what's cool about Vegas is there really is so much opportunity. I mean, obviously I do hope through this past year, you know, that we'll continue to grow things off the Strip and tourism, you know, and really focus on continuously growing our local economy and our local retention and all of that. So if, you know, tourism stops, you know, we're not in a space that we're, you know,
100%
drastically affected. So I just see that continuously growing and being stronger and stronger.
Yeah. It feels like it's just more of like a traditional city now, you know, it's not as concentrated on that. And obviously with after COVID, like all the Californians are coming here in droves.
And buying houses with money, with cash and like crazy over offer.
I just bought a house because it's a funny story because I interviewed a real estate agent and I thought I was a genius because when MGM laid off 18,000, I started having PTSD of like 2008, right? Like, oh my God, the shit's about to hit the fan. Yeah. And then the opposite happened. We sold our house, did well on it. Yeah. But then we're renting and I'm like, the prices keep going up.
Right. Well, I
thought like there'd be some negative impact, you know, but
no, I had the same thought early on. That's why we even started looking at houses like, oh, maybe I'll find something. I don't know. I'm always like, we can rent it, blah, blah, blah. Sure. Mike, my boyfriend, he's like, oh, if we're going to buy a house, we're going to live in it. I was like, okay, that's fair. Like, we can't really, you know, it could have been fun, but whatever. And then we just started looking and it's like, oh my gosh, this is not crashing. This is just aggressive. Yeah. I mean, we got in still pretty early on before it's like, I mean, now like we wouldn't be able to do what
it's nuts. Yeah. We just bought a house. We're moving in a month, but we overpaid for it. But then it appraised for even more money after, like weeks later. It's just, it keeps growing. We'll see what happens. But
I mean, I'm not, I don't have enough information or knowledge in this field, but rumor has it that it won't be like the burst before. No. It's more people are buying because of the low interest rate. So it's an opportunity to get more for less.
Well, and I think people from California, my cousin moved from LA. It's like she's married, she has a kid, she wanted to have a kid and was married. And she was like, I can't buy a house out here. Yeah. So she moved out here and now they had a baby and were able to afford it. But I think the days of like inexpensive homes, you know, are over, unfortunately. You know, it's like crazy. Yeah. But I've heard the same thing as like the bubble. It's not going to be like 08. Let's knock on wood. Yeah. Right. But it's a wild time. So so where can everyone find you? Like, is there anything that you wanted to let anyone know about or about Ferguson's or? Yeah. I mean, biggest thing is fergusonsdowntown.com. All right. That's our website, but we're most active on our Instagram where we talk about everything. I did mention Gather House. So the Gather House is another Instagram and then Market in the Alley. Okay. But if you go to the Ferguson's Instagram, you'll find the reconnection to all of those. Awesome. And so, I just, you know, the biggest thing for me is just, I'm super passionate about, you know, my tenants, the community, when we do events with them, you know, my team, the residents, just like the sustainability and growth for them. So if you can get downtown, I love it. Support the locals,
you know, so we can keep doing what we're doing and keep, you know, letting our business owners, because it's hard to have a business just in general. So every little dollar, penny, you know, matters, really matters. And it's like, I sold this today, you know? So.
Well, I think what you're doing is awesome. And congratulations. I know it's been tough. You opened right before COVID of all times.
I know, right?
But you're doing it.
We're here.
It's all
we're
about
doing
the hustle. So
for sure.
But I appreciate you coming down. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jen.